In 1980, it looked as if the Human League were finished. The group had split, the tour was in jeopardy, and the future was uncertain. Yet within a year they would release one of the most influential albums in British electronic music. Dare did more than revive the band. It helped shape the early sound of synthpop. In this film, I explore how that transformation happened. To understand Dare, we need to step back to 1980, a moment when the Human League were in a very different place. The early version of the group was adventurous, creative, and heavily influenced by experimental electronic music. Their debut album, Reproduction, introduced their stark synthetic sound, while its follow-up, Travelogue, developed the ideas further. Both albums had strong artistic character, but they were never designed for mainstream success. They explored themes that were bleak, futuristic, and sometimes deliberately challenging. For all their innovation, the band struggled to connect with a wider audience, and momentum was starting to slip away. The pressure inside the group increased as commercial expectations rose, but results did not. The tensions between Philip Oakey and Martin Ware had been building for some time, with Ian Craig Marsh moving increasingly towards Ware's side. Creative disagreements and conflicting ideas about the band's direction became difficult to reconcile, and the split arrived quickly. Ware and Marsh left to form the British Electric Foundation, and later Heaven 17, taking their vision with them. Their departure left Oakey in an unexpected position. He had the band name, a record contract, and a tour that needed to be completed, but very few musicians to perform with. At that point, it genuinely looked as though the Human League might not survive, but Oakey did something that surprised almost everyone. Rather than recruiting established performers, he took a risk that would become one of the most unusual turning points in synthpop. One night in Sheffield, he noticed two teenagers, Joanne Catherall and Susan Ann Sully, dancing in a nightclub. They had never been involved in the music industry, never sung on stage, and had no connection to the world Oakey was trying to rebuild. But they had a strong visual presence and a confidence that stood out. Oakey invited them to join the band, and although the idea seemed unlikely, it brought a new energy and character to the group. Joanne and Susan not only became central to the visual identity of the new Human League, they also helped shift the atmosphere around the band. What could have been the end of a project instead became the beginning of a transformation. The lineup continued to develop. Oakey recruited Ian Burden as a keyboard player and arranger, adding musical strength and technical skill to the new formation. Burden contributed significantly to the writing and programming that shaped the later sound of the group. But there was still something missing. To turn this mixture of new members, new ambitions, and unfinished ideas into a coherent album, the band needed a producer who understood how electronic pop should sound in the new decade. That producer was Martin Rushent. Rushent already had a strong reputation, but it was his interest in technology that made him the perfect match. He built up his own studio, Genetic, and filled it with the emerging electronic equipment of the time, machines that were modern, flexible, and rapidly evolving. The early 80s were a moment when music technology was changing almost month by month. New synthesizers, drum machines, and sequencers were becoming more reliable and easier to integrate. Rushent understood these tools instinctively. He knew how to get crisp, modern tones from them, and how to create a rhythm section that felt precise but still musical. When he began working with the Human League, he recognized the potential of the new lineup. and helped them turn ideas into clear, structured songs. Recording began in early 1981 at Genetic Studios, and the sessions became a kind of laboratory. Rushent and the band experimented with sounds, patterns, and arrangements, shaping tracks layer by layer. The studio itself played a huge role in the making of Dare. Its equipment allowed the group to achieve a level of clarity and brightness that felt new at the time. While earlier electronic albums sometimes sounded cold or distant, the sound of Dare was direct, warm, and confident. Every note sat in its own place. Every melody was shaped with intention. Nothing was left to chance. The opening track, The Things That Dreams Are Made Of, set out the band's new identity immediately. It was bold, simple, and catchy, with an electronic pulse that felt completely modern. Open Your Heart and Love Action continued this approach, mixing emotional immediacy with clean synth lines and sharply programmed rhythms. The Human League were no longer the experimental group of the late 70s. They had become a fully formed synth-pop act with a distinctive sound. But the most famous moment on the album came late in the process. Don't You Want Me was one of the final songs completed for Dare. According to interviews, Philip Oakey did not expect it to be a major single and initially saw it as one of the weaker tracks. Martin Rushent disagreed, and he pushed for it to be given a more prominent role. The public proved him right. Released at the end of 1981, the song became an instant success. The duet between Oakey and Susan Ann Sully, the unforgettable hook, and the simple but commanding synthesizer line made it one of the most recognizable singles of the decade. Don't You Want Me reached #1 in several countries and became the Christmas #1 in the UK. It also topped the charts in the United States, something very few British synthpop acts managed at the time. Its success pulled Dare into the centre of British music. The album reached #1, stayed in the charts for an extended period, and helped define the musical direction of the early 80s. The impact of Dare went beyond the music. The Human League's appearance on Top of the Pops introduced a new look to a wide audience. Their clean lines, modern styling, and strong visual identity became part of the story. In a decade where image and sound were becoming increasingly connected, the Human League presented a version of synthpop that felt complete. Their music, their visuals, and their attitude all supported the same idea: that electronic pop was not a niche experiment but a major force in British culture. Dare played a crucial role in bringing electronic music into the mainstream. It connected the experimental ideas of the 70s with the pop sensibilities of the new decade. It showed that synthesizers could carry a full album with confidence, and it helped shape the identity of British synthpop at exactly the moment the genre was becoming culturally dominant. Looking back, the creation of Dare remains one of the most striking transformations in modern music. A band that seemed to be collapsing rebuilt itself with new members, a new producer, and a new vision. The result was not only commercial success but also a blueprint for synthpop that influenced countless artists in the years that followed. More than 4 decades later, Dare remains one of the clearest expressions of what early synthpop could achieve, and its influence continues to echo through electronic music today. Thank you for watching, and thank you to everyone who has supported the channel this year. I appreciate every view, every comment, and every new and returning subscriber. I wish you a peaceful Christmas and a good start to the new year, and I look forward to sharing more films with you in the months ahead.